You're listening to The Rich Life Revolution with me, Michelle Cooper. My mission is to empower you to step into your next level of wealthy. You'll hear all the deets, a little bit of inspiration, and real life takeaways so that you can create your own rich life revolution. Let's dig in. Hey girl, hey, welcome to the Rich Life Revolution. I'm your host, Michelle, and today we are talking about bossing up your midlife health journey. Midlife really isn't a crisis. It's totally your opportunity to step into your glow up season. And my guest today is Karen Cerezo. Now I have to be careful with that last name because I want to say something different, but that is Karen's name. And she is a midlife health coach. She's a fitness expert, and she's the author of Navigating Menopause Health Tracker, which I just ordered on Amazon. So in today's episode, we are breaking down everything from hot flashes and hormone myths to mindset mastery and how to navigate this phase of your journey with health, humor, and some serious sass. Whether you're facing weight changes, brain fog, or just feeling a bit meh, Karen's expert advice and my 2 cents will leave you feeling informed, empowered, and inspired to take charge of your well-being. So in this episode, we're talking about the signs that it's time to level up your menopause health game. We discuss why midlife is actually the best time for a health glow up. We're debunking menopause myths. And spoiler alert, men do have their version of this too. We talk about the importance of mindset, self-worth, and redefining success after the age of 40, how to advocate for yourself at the doctor's office with confidence, and why Karen created her workbook, Navigating Menopause Health Tracker, which helps women manage symptoms, gauge health metrics, and so much more. So let's dive in. Hey, Karen, thanks so much for taking time and out of your day to chat with us today. Welcome to the Rich Life Revolution.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Michelle, for having me.
Awesome. So before we jump into the most important topic, managing our menopause journey, which I'm super excited to talk to you about, I will share just before we hit record, you were like, I've got 5 dogs. I've got 2 dogs. And we started talking about rescuing senior dogs. And I'm like, oh my God, you are my people. Like, yeah. That's so awesome.
So all 5 of ours are from rescue, but, like the oldest one we got was, I want to say 3.5. But as we've gotten older, we realize that we are in a position that we can help senior dogs, whether it's, with time or money, whatever those resources are. So I'm with you on that. I'm all for it. I'm ready to go. Somebody's got to do it, right?
Well, yeah, I always feel sorry for those dogs because they don't get adopted, right? They end up usually in a shelter because maybe their owner passed away or they got sick and they can't look after them or whatever. And like, to me, that's so, like, any dog ending up in shelter is sad, but that's so incredibly sad because they have probably come from a really loving home. And then to be in a shelter is maybe a bit traumatizing. And
sure.
I just feel bad for them, especially.
Maybe we could just buy a bunch of land and just bring a whole bunch of dogs out.
I know, right? I follow several of those people on Instagram, so I'm sure it's in my future.
It brings me joy.
And so to tie this into our topic of conversation, you mentioned, as your kids leave home, you are kind of collecting dogs and stuff, right? And one of the things we talk about at the Rich Life Revolution is these transitional times in our lives, whether they be empty nest kind of syndrome or situation or other transitions in our life that happen when we're in our kind of like these 50s, 60s kind of thing, right? And so I think it's awesome that you're collecting a dog when a child leaves. So good.
I don't know if my kids necessarily agree with that, but they're not being replaced.
Right.
It's just different. But, It is funny because midlife really is such an overhaul. There's so many things that are going on. And it's funny because as we're going through, puberty in our 20s and 30s, there's a lot of changes, but it doesn't seem to happen so quickly as it does in midlife. And so you're launching older kids. You've got changes in your career, changes in your health, maybe changes in your relationships. Your parents are getting older. So now you've got that additional stress. So there is a lot that goes into midlife. And one of the most important things we can do is stay healthy.
Right.
Yeah. And so,
Totally.
that's one of the reasons, that's why I love my dogs, because they make me go for walks and they make me get up and do things. And so staying healthy and staying active is probably one of our best resources when it comes to having that high quality life as we transition through this period.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's part of the reason that we got our dogs is because our dog had passed away. It was kind of a year in between. And I was like, you know what? It was actually during the pandemic. And I was like, I need to be able to get out of the house and walk at least. Right. And all the gyms were closed. All the yoga studios were closed. Everything was shut down. And so we got these 2 golden retrievers. And at that point, you couldn't find a rescue dog. Right. They were all gone kind of thing. Right. And I'm a firm advocate of shelter dogs over breeders, but we ended up purchasing from a breeder who had a couple extra puppies. So that was great. And it does, for me, the dogs help regulate my nervous system.
I was going to say, it's not only just physical health, but it's also your mental health. And
totally.
And having some type of resource for you as you're going through all of this.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So you support women, midlife women, in their journey through these menopausal years, which can maybe feel a little crazy for some people. I know for me, I've been in menopause for 2 years now, and I struggle to find the right guidance.
Right.
Right.
And it's hard.
It is hard. You have to be like a research scientist to figure some of this stuff out, right? And my doctor, to be really honest, my GP was worse than useless pretty much. She was just like, well, it's just how it is, right? And
Which
I was
is
like,
crazy coming from another woman.
I know, right? I was like, I don't think that's true. I don't think it's just how it is, right? And so luckily I'm exposed to a lot of different people, through the podcast and just through my network, and would follow the breadcrumbs from person to person and gather information. There wasn't a lot of books out there that dealt with it in the empowering way I wanted to move through this journey. And so it was, I would say, difficult to find the right resources. I feel like I did in the end, but it took a while. And I have a level of income that allows me to try things. Right. And to invest in coaching and stuff like that, where there's people who don't, right? And they're just go to the GP and the GP says something like mine did, and then they just suffer through crap. Right. And I'm like, this is not cool. So tell me a little bit about, or tell us a little bit about, your approach to navigating this journey and the things that you have kind of gone through and see in your work.
Well, it's crazy because I felt the same way as you. I was overwhelmed and I was lost, and I wasn't necessarily getting the support initially, but I ended up getting what I needed. However, at this point, so I'm about 46. And it was literally overnight that I just kind of woke up and I didn't feel well, and my workouts felt different, and I was struggling, to lift weights, and I was struggling with my endurance, and my joints hurt. My eyesight was changing. There were so many things. I was gaining weight. I always tell the story. It's like I was Tim Allen in the Santa Claus. 1 minute I had abs for the first time in my life at 45. And at 46, I had gained 30 pounds. Now, at this point, I'm a health coach. I'm a nutritionist. I'm a personal trainer. I have all of these skills and tools, and I didn't know what to do. And I can't even imagine. And I was like, wait a minute, if I don't know what to do and I have some kind of training in health, what would I expect other women to do? The other thing was I was there with so many people. I thought, I'm way too young for this. I'm only 46. It's not menopause. Something else is wrong. And so when I found out that there was a whole nother season before called perimenopause, and that you could be here, for 15 years, I was like, whoa, we need to get educated on this. And that's when I just really dove into all of it. And so for the past 6 years, that's all I've been doing is I read any book I can get my hands on. I go to webinars, I go to trainings, I talk to other coaches, and I've just gotten educated on what does perimenopause mean? How does my body change? What do I need to do to change with my body? And so I was fortunate that when I finally went to my doctor, she was well-versed in this, this new season. She did my blood work. We analyzed it. We looked at what we needed. We talked about different solutions, whether it was hormone replacement therapy, medications for my thyroid, and I was able to get the guidance that I needed. But going into coaching, so many women had such different stories where they were told, you're too young. There's no blood work to tell us whether you're in menopause or not, which is accurate, but there is blood work to tell us what's going on with your body. They weren't taken seriously. They said, come back, here's an antidepressant, whatever it was. And that is what really got me into, okay, we need to create something that helps women go in and get the best medical care for their particular journey.
Yeah, I love that. And I would say that your experience, from all of the different conversations I've had, your experience with your GP is not common.
No, it is not.
Unfortunately.
And there's so many reasons for it. And what I've come to realize is either one, they just don't have the education, which is okay. We can't expect every doctor to be an expert in every field.
Oh, totally.
We wouldn't go to our OBGYN if we had issues with cardiovascular health. And
Totally.
So we can't expect that. But what we can do is ask the questions. Do you feel qualified to help me through menopause? Is this your wheelhouse? Maybe you delivered all my babies. Maybe this isn't the time that we should be working together. Maybe you need to refer me out to an expert. So it's either a lack of training, and if they want to get trained, they have to search it out. And obviously not everybody is, interested in that, and that's okay. Or it's a lack of understanding the changes in treatment options. If they're still going old school thinking, they might not be giving the options that are out there that has had new research telling us it's okay to take these. It's okay to do hormone replacement therapy. And so that's another thing that I notice is doctors are still looking, at data from 2002, and they're not prescribing these other solutions that might be the key to you feeling better.
Right. So I did read an article on that fairly recently, and I was completely unaware that the whole kind of controversy around estrogen and breast cancer and all that stuff, right? And that it's been completely disproven now.
Yes.
Right. And I was like,
and it's funny because it's kind of like, with eggs, we never know, are eggs good? Are eggs bad? Am I supposed to be, is one egg okay? Is 3 eggs too many? Because egg information has swung back and forth too. It's the same thing with hormone replacement therapy. And so now we're finally getting to understanding that research was incorrect. And it's, it's finally getting out there, but it's slow.
Yeah. So when you're supporting women through menopause, tell us about what's going on that women feel like, hang on, stop the bus. There's something going on. I need support here.
I would say the biggest one that women notice the most, and I think it's just because that's what we've been trained to notice growing up, in the 80s and the early 90s, is weight gain.
Yeah.
Any changes on the scale freak women out. And so that is a hard one. But once you start asking women questions, then they start to realize, oh yeah, I am suffering from that. Whether are you experiencing more bloating, more constipation, inflammation that you haven't experienced before? Are you noticing your joints are hurting, your knees, your elbows, stuff that you haven't had issues before? Do you notice that your skin is changing? Do you notice that your sleep is changing? Either you're struggling to fall asleep, you can't stay asleep, you're waking up, you're having hot flashes, you're having brain fog is another one. And so when I start to ask these questions, then they start to realize there's more going on with their body. Some of it we don't pay attention to. Some of it we just say, maybe I drank too much wine last night, or, I did a hard workout the other day. Some of it, is I'm aging. So I just kind of have to get through this. This is part of the aging process, whatever it is. And we're not putting it together because we've never been told what to look for.
Right. Right. I completely agree. Right. Like as women, we're so geared towards the scale. And I have just come to terms with the fact that the scale is not an accurate reflection of my health.
Right. It is not an accurate reflection of your health. It's not even an accurate reflection of who we are. And we put so much into that number, but that's what we've been trained to do. That's what 17 magazine told us to do. That's what Cosmo told us to do. We grew up with these things. We looked at Kate Moss and we said that everybody needs to look like that. And it's hard as we change and our body changes. And so when we get into really working with women in midlife, not only is it addressing your health, let's look at your weight. Let's look at your nutrition. Let's look at your sleep. Let's look at the whole person in that holistic approach. But let's also address mindset. Let's remember we're not 20 or 30 anymore. And we're so much more than that. We are so much wiser and stronger and so much more educated. Let's focus on that element of the aging process.
So do you feel that mindset has a significant impact on how we navigate the journey through menopause?
Yes.
And perimenopause, I would say.
Yeah, it really, there's so many components to mindset, whether it's a lack of confidence, you feel like, okay, my skin, it doesn't glow as it used to. Maybe my hair has a weird kink in it that it didn't have before. I'm tired all the time. I feel like I have bags under my eyes because I'm not getting this sleep. So there is that confidence issue. But it's also another level when you get into, especially women in higher professions, the brain fog, feeling unorganized, feeling like you cannot compartmentalize your thoughts, doing a presentation and worried about, having a hot flash and sweating through your clothes. So that is also affecting our confidence. It's affecting our mental health. So there is a huge component when it comes to addressing mental health when we're going through perimenopause, and being able to look and find that clarity, find that confidence in the women that we are, and really hone in on that versus all of the other things that are affecting us in a negative way.
So, fun question here, kind of weird, but I don't know if you have an answer to it or an opinion on it, but do men go through this too?
Men do go through something similar to menopause. The difference is it is a very slow process. So here's one of the things I don't think we talk about enough as women. Let's say I started perimenopause at 46. And let's say I lived to be 86. I am in my menopause journey for 30 years. I go through perimenopause. I go through menopause when my cycle stops. And then I go to postmenopause. And I'm here for a good 30 years. And men also go through it for 30 years, but theirs is so much slower than ours. Like it literally is the whole 30 years that they feel that decline, where we feel it so much more in the very beginning, where it just kind of hits us like a wall. And then it slowly starts to taper off. So yes, they do go through it, and they definitely go through those midlife crises, but they don't have the physical impact like we do.
Okay, that's funny because my brother asked me, "Do you think I go through this too?" Because I was telling him like I'm in menopause, and he was like, "Do guys go through that too? Like, is that something I should be?" And so I was like, "I don't know."
They definitely have a decrease in hormones. They don't have 70 symptoms like we do,
right?
But their hormones decrease. But it's so slow, and it's such a long process for them.
Yeah. So
you know why? Because God knew they couldn't handle it.
Right. Right. They're not as strong as we are.
No.
So you mentioned something. I just want to make sure I'm educated and clear, because I feel like I'm not referencing things right. So there's perimenopause. That's before you have a full 12-month stop of your period, right? Like you're in perimenopause. And you said that can last 10
It can last
years?
months to 15 years.
Okay. Yeah. So if I look back and connect the dots back, for sure, perimenopause was many years for me. Right. And then there's menopause. Now, what is menopause defined as?
Well, it's funny because so many people have different definitions of it because menopause really is the umbrella term for the whole process. A lot of people just group everything under menopause. In reality, menopause is one day. It is the day that you hit 366 days without a period. So once I hit that, I'm now postmenopausal. So menopause itself is actually just very short. It's one day.
One day.
And I tell everybody, you know what, sister, when this happens, I'm throwing the biggest party.
Right? I feel like I should have had a big party.
Yes. And that's one of the things is for me, mindset wise, I am like overjoyed. Like I can't wait. Like I am so over having a menstrual cycle. Now, for women that either go through it earlier or still are in a different spot in their life, that could be a big hit to their mental health, where they're thinking, I don't want my possibilities of having children to be over, especially if they're having it, in their earlier phase. Other women feel like, well, now I'm not going to be as, as girly or as feminine or as sexy if I don't have this. And that's another component that we have, to address when we're going through this is understanding that we are still women and we're still beautiful. And just because our estrogen has dropped and our menstrual cycle has stopped, we're still women. And that's a hard one for a lot of people. So once you hit that 365 days, your menstrual cycle is stopped. Now you're in postmenopause and you will stay in postmenopause for the rest of your life. Now, the thing is about postmenopause is because your estrogen is now basically, really low, it's at its lowest level. Now you're really prone to chronic diseases like cardiovascular disease, osteoporosis, because you don't have that protective layer of the estrogen. So postmenopause is just as important as perimenopause. It's just different.
Right. Well, I love that. The clarity of that.
Yes.
So I can now say I'm postmenopausal, or in those postmenopause years. I kind of circling back or tying it back to mindset. For me, I do a lot of journaling. I do a lot of, mindset work and stuff like that. And one of the things that I was very intentional about in this part of my life was making sure that I had really strong, clear affirmations about how I was moving through the world. So one of the frequent affirmations I use is I am confident, sexy, and vibrant. Right? Because I think you can feel the complete opposite of that when you're going through menopause. Right? Like you said, you can feel like, well, am I even sexy anymore? I don't have these hormones, right? And then you have all these weird things happening, like weird hair growing out of your face that you never had before, or like just weird stuff, right? Confident, you can feel very unconfident when you don't feel yourself, right? It's like you're not in your groove anymore. Right. And I think for me, vibrancy is like this kind of like catch-all of feeling healthy and strong. And like, I can do the things that I want to do in life. Right. If I'm going to hike a mountain, I could hike a mountain. If I'm going to ride a bike, I could ride a bike. Like I can swim in the ocean. Like I can do the things. And also I think, and I would wonder if this is something you see with your clients and maybe even yourself, is that the focus changes from I need to be a certain weight and look a certain way or fit into a certain size of clothes to, for me, it changed to I want to be able to do things still.
Yeah. I see that a lot. I think a lot of women come to me with I need to lose weight. And then once we get working together, that mindset does change because then we talk more about the values and what is our why ultimately. What are we looking for? One of the things I do as a trainer is I run small group fitness workouts for women. I run small group fitness workouts for women in my community. And a lot of the women that come to me are 45 and older, between 45 and 75 is what I have. And so much of it now when they first started, it was, I'm gaining weight, I need to lose weight. So much of it now is, I want to be able to keep up with my grandkids. I don't want to be sitting on the bench watching them play. I don't want to ask my kids or my grandkids or my neighbor to help me get off the toilet. I don't want to have somebody assist me when I take a shower, because they are all starting to deal with their parents aging. And I don't think our parents are doing a good job. Not all of them. Obviously, some of them are super healthy and active. But I think our generation is definitely healthier and more active in our 50s and 60s than our parents' generation was. And so we are seeing the aftermath of that. And we're all saying, I'm not doing that. I want to have a high quality life. I want to live on my own as long as possible. The other component a lot of people don't talk about is being unhealthy in your later years is really expensive. So
right?
If you can stay healthy now, man, you are saving yourself a lot of money. You're saving, your kids, their inheritance or whatever you're planning on doing with your money. But so yes, I do notice a lot as they start. There's one reason. As we get into it, they're starting to realize it's another reason. Just like you said, the vitality, just being able to get up, not feel all of the aches and pains. Are we going to suffer from some stuff? Yes. I mean, obviously our body is breaking down. No matter what we do, it's going to be a little bit of a decline, but we can reduce that and we can work with it. And so that is one of the things I see a lot with the ladies that I work with.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that women moving through this journey now are moving through it very differently than our parents or mothers did.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, they didn't talk about it.
Totally.
They didn't talk about it, number one. And if you ask women in their 70s, I've asked so many of my clients, my girlfriends and stuff, did your mom ever talk about this? Your aunt, your grandma, anybody? So many of them are like, yeah, well, my mom had a hysterectomy. So, she didn't experience it this way. I cannot tell you how many people I hear that have had hysterectomies. That must have been like a cure-all back in the day. And so their menopause journey was completely different. And so that might be some of why we didn't get the education. We didn't have these open dialogues. But I'm so fortunate and I'm so happy that we're having them now. I say it all the time. My son is so well-versed in menopause. He's 21. He's going to be amazing.
Right? He'll be an amazing partner. That's awesome. And, this kind of makes me reminds me of this podcast I was listening to and subsequent conversation I had with a friend recently where we were talking about how in today's world, so she was talking about her parents. Her parents retired when they were in their late 50s. Like 58, 59 kind of thing from jobs, like corporate jobs, not entrepreneurs. And they bought a sailboat and they spent the next 20 years sailing around the world. And what they said was they had no idea that they would have a whole new life that happened when they were like 60.
Yeah.
Right. And so now they're 80, they're selling the sailboat. Right. But they were like, it doesn't have to look like the way you think it does, right? Like they were like, we had a whole 20-year period, which was a completely different life than we had before, right?
Yeah.
Raising kids, going to work, doing all the things, right? And I was like, in order to have that, you have to have your health.
Right.
Right.
Right. And I mean, and it's not like all of us can go out and afford a sailboat. I do love that idea, by the way.
Right.
But there's so many things that we can do, especially with our partner. It's
totally.
so common for separations to happen in this time period. And it really is because there's so much going on. There's so much change. And you can either you can come together or you start to grow apart. And how awesome to both feel healthy and energized and wanting to do things and spending time with that other person to bring you back together as your children leave or whatever it is, that career change. So that's amazing. I love that story.
Yeah, I loved it too. I was like, oh my God, that's fantastic. And so, yeah, I think you bring up an important piece there, right? Around like women moving through this time of life, and all the things that it brings, right? I think that you could become more distant from your partner, right? And they're probably going through their own, men go through midlife crisis in a different way than we do, right? Where they start, buying sports cars and stuff like that. My brother just bought a Miata and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what is going on
Okay,
here?
right. You're like, red flag. Listen.
I know, right? But I can totally see that you could grow apart, right? And I think you have to be open, and like you have to have this really, I guess, open communication maybe with your partner. Do you find that with the people that you're working with? Like, are relationships breaking down partly because of this process? And like, do you have any advice about that?
Did see that before. I think not as much now. And I will tell you, one, I think because we're talking about it more just in podcasts, just in social media. My algorithm obviously shows a little bit different than other people's algorithm, but I have menopause stuff coming up all the time. And so I think for women, that makes them, we're starting to see commercials. We're not just the butt of a joke in a sitcom. People are actually talking about it. We're seeing people we grew up with, Drew Barrymore and Halle Berry and Gwyneth Paltrow, Elle Macpherson, talking about their struggles. So it helps us feel like, okay, we're not alone. I'm not losing my mind when I am feeling these different feels that I have, and all these different struggles. So number one, I think that has helped open up the dialogue. I think talking to your girlfriends, being able to be open and honest, and sometimes you have to laugh about it. You can't take it all serious, but it's nice to know that you're connecting. That then leaves you with the confidence of, listen, I need to talk to my partner about it. And that for some people is really hard. And so the best place to start is just small conversations. I know for me personally, I'm so fortunate because my husband will listen to anything. And so when I was going through all of this, starting at the very beginning, and I was struggling with a lot of female issues, I'm like, what is off? So then I felt like a bad partner. But the more we talked about it and the more I talked to my doctor about what was going on, the more I learned about how my estrogen was changing and how it was affecting our sex life. And the more we were open and honest, we were just able to find other ways to come together in intimate ways, or just go out and have fun together, whatever it is, to bring us back together. So I think the most important thing is just opening up that dialogue, being open and honest. And hopefully you have a partner that is supportive and understanding and works with you and is by your side as you're looking for solutions.
I love that. Yeah. It doesn't have to be all drama and
No. And it
like
might
breaking
not look
down.
the same. Just like when we talk about, your workouts are not going to look the same as they did when you were in your 20s and 30s, or even your early 40s. Your sex life might not look the same either. It might actually get better, but it might just change a little bit. There might be ways that you're going to have to work with your partner to find ways to get that relief differently, get that closeness, So
yeah,
it is a great time for exploration, learning more about who you are, whether that's intimately or, hobbies, or just, strengths within yourself. This is an amazing time to evolve into that woman that you were always supposed to be.
so good. I love that. I feel like we need to end on that because that was a really powerful time, because I don't think that that's the message that I think it's a message that's getting out now more, but I don't think it's the message that has been out there, right? Like, it's a great time to become the woman that you're meant to be. I think there's a lot of shedding that happens at this time where you don't have time for toxic relationships and people and things that you no longer enjoy, right? Like, you're not willing to tolerate things as much often. That's what I find in my own experience. Yeah. And you can have clarity if you move through this intentionally, even if, and I have suffered with brain fog. I would say I'm not totally out of the fog yet. Right. I don't know if I ever will be, but I just know now, for example, that I don't have in the brain fog aspect, I don't have the same drive and ability to manage all the things that I used to.
Yeah.
So now my days are tighter in my focus, right? Like, it's like, okay, we're just going to do this, right? So for example, Wednesdays, podcasting day. That's all I do on Wednesdays, right? My brain can't context switch as easily anymore, right? So we have to adapt, right, to what feels good for us and be okay with adapting, right? That might mean slower pace for some people. It might mean like I went from, high cardio, high, like, lifting heavy weights and all that stuff to Pilates because my nervous system was like on overdrive, right? And my naturopath was like, you're actually stressing your
Yes.
body,
Yeah.
right? Like you need
But
to
you're
calm
doing more
down.
damage than you're doing good. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I moved into Pilates and I lost weight and I feel like I'm hardly exercising, right? So, I guess the takeaway for me at least is that this is like you said, it's an amazing opportunity in our lives to make some changes and like you mentioned, become the women we were meant to be, right?
Well, and everything you've mentioned, it's all about listening to your body. You changed up your workouts to listen to your body. You started journaling because you knew that you needed that clarity. You created a schedule that worked with the changes that were going on with your body. And so I know as we wrap it up, just a reminder that the most important thing you can do is listen to your body. And so I always tell people you just need to focus on listening to those body's cues, listening to your body's cues because it's telling you stuff. And so that's exactly why I created the tracker, is the navigating menopause.
Totally.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
you're
show
listening to
that. Show us your book because I'm going to order this now.
Yes, no, it is amazing if I say so myself. The biggest thing and the reason I created it is because, like you said, so many women are noticing all of these things and then they go to the doctor and they don't get the health care that they need. This is a place for you to put all of that information in here. There's over 20 trackers to help you monitor all elements of your health, your mindset, your movement, your nutrition, your blood tests, your symptoms that you're struggling with. And so it is a comprehensive health journal. And it's a way for you to go in and say, okay, I demand to get some solutions for everything I'm struggling with. But it also helps you look for patterns and make those changes just like you did. Small little changes.
Yeah, awesome. So we're going to have the link to that because I'm going to order it right away.
Yep.
And
You
I'll
can find it
probably
on Amazon. You can get it in 2 days.
Yay! I'm getting it. Ordering it right after we stop recording because I love that idea. Like I am a journal person, but I love the idea of having something that like has all of the stuff in it and I can take that with me to my doctor and say, here's some stuff. Because I think sometimes when I go to the doctor and she'll ask me questions and I think, yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
exactly. You're like,
right?
well,
Like,
when was the last time? I don't remember.
Yeah. Or I just go based on what's happening right now, right? Like if I keep waking up in the night but maybe I wasn't 6 months ago or like, I don't know. Right.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree. Yeah.
that's good.
The more information you have about yourself, the better.
Yeah.
It helps
I love
you.
it.
It helps them.
Thank you so much, Karen. This is a wealth of knowledge. I'm going to be all over your social media now and
Thank you.
I'll get the tracker and stuff. So thank you for sharing this. And if people want to follow you online, we'll put everything in the show notes, but where can they find you?
You can find me at midlifehealthcoach.com is my website. There's a ton of free resources on there. I'm also on Instagram at midlife_health_coach. And then the Navigating Menopause Health Tracker is on Amazon.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey girl, let's just come together here for a moment. Let's just celebrate this thing called menopause. Oh my goodness. I learned so much on today's episode. My biggest takeaway gold nugget from this episode really was when Karen said midlife isn't the beginning of the end. It's the beginning of becoming the woman you were always meant to be. Mic drop, like boom, like fire moment, sizzle, all the things, right? I truly believe that this episode was such a powerful reminder that navigating menopause and midlife isn't about just getting through it. It's not about just getting by. It's about listening to your body, embracing change, and redefining what health, success, and happiness looks like on your terms, which is everything that we stand for at the Rich Life Revolution. So by staying curious, being proactive and intentional, you can reclaim your power, you can reignite your vibrancy, and create a life that feels truly aligned. Your mind, your body, and your soul. Bam. That's all we need to know to navigate this journey. Now, for sure, there's going to be some highs and lows. Absolutely. That's what your community is for. That is what your people are for. And if you're looking for those people, I think I know where they are. They happen to be hanging out in the Rich Life Revolution Mastermind. So if you are interested in checking that out, you can go to richliferevolution.ca and navigate over to the mastermind page where you can check out everything we do in the mastermind. It is such a group of incredible humans. Oh my God. And they support each other. They love on each other. And, we call ourselves wing women in that community. It's small, it's intimate, and it is priceless. So if it's something that you're looking for, make it happen, girl. Don't forget to join me next week for a solo episode where you're diving into my heart, my soul, my brain, all the things, and the craziness that happens in my head. I'm Michelle. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you got at least one gold nugget today. Be sure to grab your copy of the Rich Life Revolution workbook to help you set the foundation for your next level of wealthy. Get it now at richliferevolution.ca, and I'll see you later.